So, building a branded dropshipping store is much more straightforward than most people think. The problem is when people get started, the place where they first see friction or where they first get stuck is usually with product research or niche research, right? So that's what we're going to address first of all. And it's probably the most important part of building a branded dropshipping store. The reason we start with the product and market research is to check for product market fit, okay? So to do that, we've developed a system called the 4-step product validation method. And the very first part of it is really just thinking about building a brand. Okay, this isn't just a pump and dump dropshipping store, something that's here today, gone tomorrow. We're building something that is actually a valuable asset that comes with brand IP. Right? If someone actually wanted to buy it later down the line, you've built and established yourself as a brand. It's more appealing to a prospective buyer, but we're probably getting a bit ahead of ourselves. The reason we're focusing on building a brand is more than just that as well, right? By building a brand, we can become an authority within a niche. The reason we want to become an authority or even a micro authority within a niche is so that we can demand a premium price point. If you think about brands such as Dyson, Louis Vuitton, these big high street brands that you know the names of, all they've done is built a brand. Obviously, I'm not saying we're going to come along and build the next Dyson. I mean, it'd be great if we did, and there's no reason why we can't compete against them. But if you think about one of their products, say the Dyson Airwrap, okay, the hairstyling tool, it costs like $400-500. It's a piece of plastic and electrical cable. But why are they able to charge so much? Because they've been able to build a brand. And that's exactly what we're going to do, okay? Forget selling $20, $30, $40 products, being happy and excited over $5 profit. We're going to build something that allows us to have brand IP, sell higher ticket products. And the way that we find these products and bring them to market is by first validating a niche. A niche is just a category or subcategory of products. And I'll show you some examples in just a moment. But we find our niche and then we find 3 to 5 winning products within a niche, okay? Why do we find 3 to 5 winning products? Well, we don't want to launch a single product store and we don't want to list hundreds or thousands of products either because people seem to do one or the other. The reason we don't want to launch a single product store is because usually the 80-20 rule applies, yeah? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so chances are, if you launch a single product, you're going to have to keep testing winners until you find one that sticks. But if we position ourselves as an authority within a niche, launch 3 to 5 products, more likely or more often than not, the 80-20 rule will apply, which will mean one of those products will go on to generate 80% of your revenue. So we find 3 to 5, and by finding those and validating them using our 4-step product validation method, you're much more likely to succeed because one of those products will take off. So how do we actually identify winning products within a niche? There's a few different things that we're looking out for. So first and foremost, we want to sell high ticket products, okay? Why do you want to sell high ticket products? Well, more profit margin is like the easy answer, okay? If you're selling higher ticket products, there's more profit left over after your cost of goods, which is your product cost and your shipping cost, and also your advertising spend. These are all things that go into generating the sale, and the difference between your product cost and your advertising cost versus your product price is the profit that's left for you after. So we want to look for products that are at least $100 plus, and I will show you how to find those in just a moment. So first and foremost is high ticket products. We also want products that have high demand. Okay, what do we mean by demand? We want to just sell products that people are already looking for. Okay, when you're selling products that people are already looking for, we simply just put our ad in front of people that are looking for them, and therefore we have a higher conversion rate. Higher conversion rate means we have to spend less on our cost of advertising, which again means you have more profit left over after your cost of sale. So high search demand, high price point. We also want products that are evergreen. So we want products we can sell year round, okay? We don't want to build a seasonal store where we generate sales 3 months of the year, 6 months of the year, only in winter, only in summer. We want sales all year round, right? And again, I'll show you how to validate that using a free tool that's available on Google. Lastly, we want to sell products that have low competition, okay? So the trouble is, what most people do is they sell low ticket, low quality products, which leads to, poor customer satisfaction because they're selling low ticket, low quality junk. They're selling to people based off of impulse, right? Because they're selling to people using Meta, which is interruption based marketing. They sell trending products. The problem with trending products is they're extremely competitive. As I was saying, we want to find products that pass our 4-step product validation method. So high demand, low competition, products that are evergreen and can be sold year round, and products that are above $100 in price point. And I'll walk you through how to find them right now. So when we're first looking for products, I suggest that people go online, maybe just go to Google Shopping or similar. You could even look on Amazon, something like that. And you just want to identify products that are $100 plus. Now, for members like yourself who are in the academy, I've created my 37 niche and 370 product ideas. Now, I'm not saying that every single one of these is going to pass the 4-step product validation method, but it should be used for inspiration and as a starting point, right? So if we just take one of these niches, for example, and go for, let's just say, smart home security, right? So that would be things like smart locks, cameras, safes, anything to do with home security. That would be our niche, right? And then within them, or within that niche, we're looking for 3 to 5 winning products. So we could start by simply looking at smart locks. So where would we go? We'd go to Google, simply go to Google Shopping, and we would type in smart door locks. What we're going to want to do is have a look at these sponsored listings here, okay? This sponsored section means that someone else, like a competitor or someone else online, is paying to put this ad in this placement, okay, on the Google Shopping network. So that means that these are all other retailers selling this product. Now, what we want to do is just see if on average the price point is above $100. I know it's showing in dirham at the moment, but to convert dirham to dollars, you simply divide by 4. So we can see actually this one's selling for about $110, $115. This one here is selling for about $150. This one here, maybe about $80. This one's considerably higher, around about, what would that be? $400, $500. This one here is on Amazon. So I should mention that we don't really want to take readings from Amazon because we're not going to be directly competing against Amazon. Amazon has its own customer base. People that shop on Amazon search on Amazon. What we're going to be doing is competing against actual retailers on here. So you can see we have Ziki.ae. We have this one, Spanning Global. We have this one, which is called Smart Locks. These are the people that we want to take our average price point from because they're other online retailers. So let's just double check these again. We've got this one here for around about $300. This one here for about $500, this one here for about $100. So even by having a quick look on the Google Shopping results, we can see that most other online retailers are selling this product for over $100. So it's already past step 1, right? Once we've found a product that passes step 1, we're then going to go to Google Trends and we're going to search for that exact same term. So in this instance, smart door locks, we're going to go to Google Trends. We're going to set our location to be the location that we intend on advertising in, right? So for the purpose of this example, let's just say United States because I've already started talking about dollars and I don't want to then switch to pounds. So we'd type in smart door locks into Google Trends, and this is a free tool that anyone can access online. And what it does is if we set our location to be United States and set the time frame to say the last 5 years, it's then going to show us how often this term is being searched for, and it's going to rank it out of 100. What this is going to allow us to see is whether the product is evergreen or not, okay? So you can see, based on the data of the past 5 years in the USA, there's no huge like peaks and troughs, right? Like this seems pretty consistent. It always ranges within 50 to 75 in terms of like how often people are searching for it on Google. Now, the reason this is important is because, like I said, we don't want to sell products that are aggressively up, aggressively down, things that change. I mean, the ideal scenario, I guess, would be something that's almost slowly sort of trending up whilst maintaining consistency year round. And I guess in some senses, you could say this almost is a tiny bit sort of trending up, but not really. It's kind of pretty flat. An example of something that would be obviously like extremely seasonal would be if we were to type in, say, Christmas tree. Like, you know, you can imagine what this is going to look like, right? This is obviously an extreme example of seasonality. Now, there's not many other things you'll search in that will like show it'll be this extreme. And this is obviously just like a bit of a silly example to show you. But like what we had there is almost a perfect example of consistency, right? Following everything so far?
Yeah, gotcha. So basically we're looking for something that doesn't have that up and down peak, basically.
Yep.
And, you know, like me starting with ecom, I used to go with the flow of basically what you see most often online, which is to find a trending product.
Yep.
You know, usually go on the Facebook ads library and just try to find like the winning product. But over here, we are trying to find a consistent demand so we can build the business like I want it. So sustainable over the year rather than, you know, quick up and down, let's say, of some weeks, maybe months, like with the other strategy. Yeah, exactly. I like this one better.
Exactly. We want consistency, and we want to make sure that the business economics and the fundamentals make sense before we even launch the product. So Forget about looking for products on Meta Ad Library, scanning through Instagram. We want to make sure that the business fundamentals and the economics are stacked within our favor, and that comes from price point, demand, competition. So far, we've validated price point, okay? Now we've validated evergreen and consistency. Now what we're going to look at is search demand. So search demand is going to show us how many people every single month are actually searching for this exact term. So if we just copy that and go to a free tool called Google Keyword Planner. Now, to use Google Keyword Planner, you need to have a Google advertising account. It's completely free to set up and it's pretty straightforward. Just go to googleads.com or ads.google.com, I should say. Create an account in there with your business name, business information. Once you've created one, you'll gain access to Google Keyword Planner. Now, the reason this is so powerful is, well, first and foremost, it's free. So like extremely valuable data and you're accessing it for free. But in addition to that, we can, similarly to Google Trends, set our location and ask Google how many people every single month are looking for the product that we're researching. So if we change our location down here, now if we paste in smart door locks, which is the product we were looking at, and click get results, now Google has very kindly provided us with the average monthly searches for this term every single month. So in the United States, 22,200 people every single month are looking for smart door locks, right? So when I'm looking for a product and I want to know whether or not, it's viable and I should enter in a particular market, ideally I'm looking for at least like a minimum of 1,000 monthly searches. Anything above is a plus, right? But with increased monthly demand, as in an increased number of people looking for the product, you also need to take into consideration the level of competition. Now, Google is an auction, as is Meta, but on Meta, you're charged based on your CPM, right? Your cost per 1,000 views. Google is also known as PPC advertising, pay per click, right? So it's different in the way it bills you. And on Google, you have a cost per click. Google Keyword Planner gives you an estimated cost that you could expect to pay per click. And it's giving us a range here of 60 cents to $5. Now, that's quite a considerable swing. Now, what I would suggest is it could be that this is somewhat inflated because maybe there are people that are local service providers in the USA who are offering smart door lock installation and things like this, right? Because even with a smart door lock, you're going to need to be able to install it, and maybe not everyone has the technical know-how or ability to do that. So you need to take these figures with a pinch of salt, right? They're not exact. It doesn't mean that you would have to pay $5 per click. And if you did, the business economics would be wrong, right? Because if you think about it, our average price point on Google shopping results varied a little bit. It was like one was $100, one was maybe $300, one was even $500, I think. So if you think about the business fundamentals, if you had to pay $5 per click, which is very expensive, maybe you've got a 2% conversion rate, you'd do 50 clicks times $5, because that's going to tell you, well, if it's a 2% conversion rate, 100 clicks would be 1% conversion rate, 50 clicks would be 2% conversion rate. Does that make sense? The way it works?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Just think of it as percentages. So to get a 2% conversion rate, which is pretty typical in e-commerce, we'd have to do 50 clicks times $5, which is the average CPC, or not the average, it's actually the higher rate, highest you could expect to pay, which would mean $250, right? 50 times 5. You don't want to be paying that much to generate a sale, even if your price point is $300, $400, $500, because that's going to eat into your profit margins a lot, right? But if we had to pay on average, say $1, well, then we're much more profitable, right? Because imagine 2% conversion rate, which would be 50 clicks per conversion, that times $1, that would be $50 per sale. All of a sudden, the odds are much more stacked in your favor because we've validated search demand, not too much competition, based on the swing here in the average CPC. In addition to that, the product is evergreen in that it sells year round, and the price point is way above $100. I mean, it was on average like 100 all the way up to 5, yeah? So we know that the profit is there, and you can generate enough clicks to generate that sale. The only thing that's like a little bit confusing, and you have to take like a bit of a gut feel, is these figures here, right? It's telling you could pay anywhere from 60 cents to $5, but I've already addressed why that might be a bit more. You have to be careful in niches that maybe could be competing against service providers, because they're going to inflate the cost. Because if you imagine, they might sell a smart door lock and offer do the installation, therefore they can afford to spend more aggressively. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, gotcha. So basically, the difference is over here with Google, because again, me coming rather from advertising on Meta, is over here you pay just if people click on your ad,
yes,
rather than to show the ad to just a bunch of people on scrolling on Meta. So that's the main difference, which probably means that it's better return on your spend, rather than just burning your cash on ads like I did a lot to test different products. Then over here it would be much more precise, I guess.
Yes,
because people would click only if they actually are entering your website through the ad.
Absolutely. If we think about how Google works and how it operates, Google is a search-based platform, okay? It's called search engine marketing, all right? When someone's looking to buy something, for example, a smart door lock, which is exactly what these searches are indicating here, right? This has been searched in Google in the US alone 22,000 times. So what do you think they're looking for when they search for that?
Yeah, I guess smart door locks.
Exactly. And if we compare that to Meta, do you go to Meta and scroll on your phone when you're looking to buy something? You don't, right? If you wanted to buy a smart door lock, you'd go to Google. So that already tells us a lot about the actual intent behind the audience that's searching for something on Google, right? They have much higher intent. So you rightly said you're going to have more profit left over because typically your cost per sale is lower because all we're doing is putting an ad in front of someone that's already looking for the product that we sell. Therefore, our cost of advertising is typically lower and what we earn in terms of profit is higher, especially when we're selling high ticket products, right? So like, now hopefully you're starting to see how all of the business fundamentals and the economics stack up if we just check these four things, you know?
Yeah, it looks much more, I would say, mature or much more stable and consistent this way.
And how long did this take us? 10 minutes because I'm explaining it, but like what?
Yeah.
To validate this product, to confirm price point, competition, the fact that it's evergreen, and also high search demand, low competition, evergreen, and price point. Yeah, like what, 5 minutes?
Yeah, true.
If that. Now, we've already here just validated one product. Like, I see no reason why you couldn't launch this product, bring it to market in the smart home security niche or security niche, and add on maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 more products. I mean, what I recommend usually for someone like yourself who's just launching a new brand in a new niche is 3 to 5 winning products. So all we would do is just validate it in the exact same way. You'd go back to the list, go for example, now we'd look at cameras, okay, home security cameras, and you just follow that process step by step and validate the products within that niche. And remember, a niche is a category or subcategory of products. So in this instance, we used the smart home or security example. Having been through that, and I know I showed you quite quickly, but would you then feel confident going away and understanding what it is that you need to do and how many products you need to find within a niche? Like, is everything extremely clear?
Yeah, so basically the difference is that instead of trying to launch a bunch of random products, I guess, that are like winning, you can say you're just trying to find rather a couple of products in the same, like a same group of products and launch more branded, I guess, store, right? Which means like in one topic, in one niche. So people
Exactly.
can also navigate maybe and buy some additional products, or yeah, you can find the product that actually makes your maybe more sales, but still within one niche, all of that. And you start a test rather than testing different products from different niches that are unrelated. You test 3 to 5 from the same category.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're almost doing like all of the testing up front, if you like, right? Because you said it yourself there. What a lot of people do is like maybe go on Meta Ad Library or find a product. They're trying to find what people would call a winner. And the way that they validate a winner is by testing. And they'll be like, test 5 products a day using Meta ads. But that's fine if you've got deep pockets, but it gets expensive quick, right? And how many products do you need to test to find a winner? And even then, after all that testing, based on the product price, how much profit is even left, So we eliminate all of that and we're able to bring a product to market or multiple products to market within a niche with an extremely high success rate by simply validating it using these free tools. With Google Shopping, Google Trends, Google Keyword Planner, like just so straightforward. But just by taking this extra 5 minutes, we've saved ourselves or yourself tons of money in wasted ad spend on Meta, testing, trying to find winners, not to mention the image and video based creatives. Like, this is the thing. Most beginners are trying to compete against guys who have spent years in the game or big brands with big budgets. So these are the people who you're actively competing against in the Meta auction. But Google somehow is like a blue ocean. Like, it's where people go to buy things, and yet everyone just seems to overlook this. Like, rather than sell on Google, everyone still thinks sell on Meta ads, image and video based creatives. And then what happens is, because they don't know how to design the images or the videos, they've never tested before, they get led or told to just steal their competitors' ads. But by doing that and launching their competitors' ads, they're then liable for copyright claims, to be sued, to be shut down by Shopify or Meta, because usually if they copy their ad, they copy their landing page as well, and it's not a very authentic way to build a business, and it's certainly not a way to be in the game for longevity. Plus, what do you learn by stealing from someone? What we do is back everything by data. right? So you can bring products to market with an extremely high success rate, and you can just skip all of that, you know?
Yeah, that sounds way better, like less random. And also the thing I like about your way of thinking and where you coach and mentor is basically try to build like a real business rather than something that is here and it's gone in 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
that definitely sounds better for me.
100%. So now that we've been through that, do you feel comfortable going away and just doing the research yourself, finding 3 to 5 products within a niche?
Yeah, so how easy it is to find, let's say, multiple products, and do I have to, how long would you say can that kind of research take? Like, how deep should you go?
Don't overthink it. I often say to people, like, stop trying to find the perfect product,
Yeah.
because this is what a lot of people do. They'll keep researching and researching, and they're looking for this absolute, like, unicorn product, right? And the thing is, with data and the online space, is things can change very quickly. What might look perfect today might not be perfect tomorrow, or in a week, or in a month. So forget about trying to find something that is perfect, and just find something that passes the 4-step product validation method. That's why I've designed it, and use this system just religiously. Go through, and as long as everything aligns, just don't overthink it. If the data aligns, go for it, because the problem is some people spend too long on this, and then what happens is they've got 10, 20, 30, 50 product ideas, all in different niches, and they're like, oh, I don't even know which one to go by. And I call it like analysis paralysis. We all do it. I've even done it before when I was launching a previous store, where you just go through so much, you look at all of this extra detail, and you're always just like, no, that won't work, or this doesn't work. That, just trust the data. The truth can be found in the data. And by doing this, we're already doing like 10 steps ahead of what people typically do on Meta. So just take your time with it. If it takes a day, 5 days, a week, it doesn't really matter, because this shouldn't be rushed. Like, you're building the foundation of your business off of this data. So we want to make sure that you're extremely confident coming into it. And what I always do to people like yourself or anyone in the academy is, once you've completed your research, you can submit your niche to me for validation. I'll go through, look at all of your data points, give you direct feedback. So again, you can move forward with confidence, you know?
Sounds good. Yeah. So what are the next steps after I complete that?
Perfect. So once you've sourced 5 products within a niche, then what we're going to do is we're going to reach out to what we call a private agent. You've seen James Bond, right?
Yeah.
You know what a private agent is, 007.
Hell yeah.
So it's kind of similar, or not. A private agent is essentially your eyes and ears on the ground in China, and they're an extension of your business. So what they're going to do is you're going to send them your product list and the ideas of the products that you want to source, and as well as that, links from AliExpress and Alibaba or similar. They're then going to liaise with the suppliers on their end in China, because they'll have an extensive network, and they're going to help source the products for you, and they're going to tell you what you could expect to pay in terms of your price point, so your product cost and your shipping cost. Okay, so depending on where you're shipping to, whether it be the USA, UK, Europe, Canada, it doesn't really matter, they'll give you a cost to ship to that location. You can then compare that against your price that you're selling at, and that's going to calculate your gross margin. I'll show you how to do that in the 4-step product validation sheet as well. So you can determine your gross margin and what you could expect to pay and what you will have left after your product cost and your shipping cost. Again, really important step, because we don't want to just blindly bring a product to market. We want to make sure that the business economics still makes sense in terms of what you're going to pay as a product cost and shipping cost, and then what you're selling at. Because let's say you're selling a product that is $300, and let's say your product cost and shipping cost is $50, that means you've got a $250 profit potential, okay? Just the sale price versus your cost of goods sold. $250 profit potential. You obviously need to put some of that aside for ad spend, okay? We use Google Ads, and I'll talk about that more in a moment. But so long as you're able to generate a sale for less than $250, which you can assume what you might pay based on the CPC we saw there, right? For the smart door lock, it was between 50 cents and $5. I think that's been inflated, like I mentioned. So I reckon you could probably pay anywhere from like $1 to maybe $1.50 per click. Assuming a 2% conversion rate, like we said earlier, that would be 50 clicks to generate a sale, which would be around about $50 or maybe $75 if it's $1.50 per click. So you need to take that out of your profit margin as well. And then anything that's left is your potential profit. Does that make sense the way I explained it?
I think so, yeah. I have one question. Do I really need to use the agent rather than just maybe fulfilling through one of those websites that are available, like Zendrop or maybe AliExpress?
Good question. The reason I always work with an agent, and I recommend all of my students do it as well, is because, like I said, they become an extension of your business. So my agent, I have direct WhatsApp support from them, and I put them in touch with my virtual assistant who handles all my customer support. So the agent is going to be almost like an unbiased third party that is an extension of your business. They can negotiate with the suppliers for you to get the price point down. They can also quality check the products for you. So you can send them to their office or warehouse. They'll review them, make sure the quality is good before you even send it to the customer, which is also really important, because the last thing we want to do is sell something that's low quality, or maybe the supplier lied and they said it's going to be this lead time, but it actually takes way longer. So the good thing with an agent is they earn commission each time you generate a sale, right? So let's say the agent quotes you a price and they'll say, hey, it's $50 product and shipping cost. They've built in their percentage and their margin into that. Maybe it's a couple of dollars. You won't even notice. So they win when you win. And they're almost on your side, right? Because when you generate sales, they get incentivized and they earn a commission off of that sale. So they're very much on your side. And that's why you want to go through them. It's an unbiased third party, quality check products, find things that are good quality. And last but not least, the other thing I was going to mention is they can negotiate with the suppliers for you. So you can even go back to the agent and say, hey, it's a little bit more than what I was expecting based on the margin I've got left. Can we aim for this target price? And they will then negotiate with the supplier on your behalf, because a lot of the suppliers don't actually talk English. Right? A lot of them may be like native Chinese, or they're all native Chinese. Therefore, their English may be limited. So having an agent who can speak English, part of your team that's going to handle all of your fulfillment, they can speak with the supplier on your behalf. And there's actually one more thing as well. If you get to the point where you'd like to purchase some stock, say 10 pieces, 100 pieces, whatever, the agent can store that for you at their warehouse and ship it for you on your behalf, which eliminates any processing time and further processing delays that you'd otherwise have when going direct to the supplier. So that's also important. That's what I do with my business as well. The agents, a lot of the time, or the ones that I'm going to connect you with, don't have any minimum order quantity, which means you don't have to place a minimum order with them. You can just drop ship, which is extremely important as well, because a lot of the suppliers may require minimum order quantity, or private agents that are otherwise out there might say, we'll work with you, but only when you're generating 10 orders a day, which is not ideal for beginners like yourself, you know? And when we're selling high ticket products, to be selling 10 orders a day, that's quite high revenue as well, you know? So there's a lot of benefits there, touched on a few, but does that answer your question?
Yeah, and also like I'm guessing that they help with the fulfillment itself, right? Like you connect them somewhat to your website.
Yes.
And they basically take care of the order instead of you having to do it yourself manually.
Yes, that's a very good point as well. Yeah, so usually they'll connect the supplier's ERP to your business, or they'll have their own ERP, which just means you download a Shopify app, it connects to your store. When you receive an order, the agent gets notified, and then they will fulfill the order, or the supplier will fulfill the order, depending on the setup.
Sick.
So you don't actually have to do anything, and that's the beauty of dropshipping, which you know anyway, is you don't ever have to come into contact with the products. Obviously, it's a good idea to maybe check them at some point, but by having an agent, it's extremely beneficial for speed, right? Like speed to action, because imagine you didn't have one, you wanted to quality check the products, you've got to send it from the supplier to your home address, check them, you don't know whether it's good or not. Then you've got to try and negotiate with the supplier. Maybe they don't speak very good English. So, you know, just think of the agent as an extension of your business, and that's what you should be leveraging them for. You know?
Sick.
Amazing. So once we've gone through and validated 5 products within a niche, you then go away and source the products. Sourcing products can take anywhere from like 2 to 3 days, usually 48 to 72 hours, depending on the agent themselves. Because what you got to remember is they're just people at the end of the day. They're going to go through their network and source the products for you. If it's more of like an unusual request, like one they've not seen before, might take a bit longer for them to source, because a lot of the time they're used to sourcing like low ticket, low quality products, right? But because we're doing high ticket, it's a little bit different from the norm. Like they really like it as well, because they're incentivized, they get bigger commissions per sale. And yeah, it's just a little bit different from what most people do on Meta. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but they will always come back with something, you know?
Gotcha.
But while they're doing that, we don't want to waste any time, okay? So what we're going to do is go ahead and get your business set up. So that's setting up your actual company, right? Now, the best place for you is going to be dependent on where you live currently, and also like how you want to structure your company, because if you set up a company in a different country or location, you're going to have different tax implications based on where you live, based on what the company's doing in terms of revenue, where you're generating sales. Personally, the setup that I recommend, that I use personally, is setting up a US LLC. The reason for that is, as a non-US resident, the company will be registered as a foreign-owned asset, which means any sales or any revenue generated by the company is not liable for corporation tax, which means all of your profits are essentially tax-free. Of course, if you're selling in the USA, you will need to pay US economic nexus per state, which just means each state has their own way in which they tax you based on sales volume, okay? This is something you don't need to worry about at the start, because you're going to be way below the threshold. But I personally use a US LLC for that reason. And then obviously I'm based in Dubai as well, which means I'm not liable to pay any personal income tax, which is an absolute blessing. Obviously, you'll need to pay tax based on where you live and your company. So again, this isn't like international tax advice. I'm not an international tax consultant. I can tell you what I know and why I went with a US LLC, but obviously do your due diligence. I mean, if you do want to set up a company, what I recommend is Doula. It's who I've used, and I've even partnered with them inside of the academy. So as a member, you can get a discount code. I think it cost about $400 with the discount, and your company will be set up in just a few days typically. Then once the company is set up, what you do is you'll need to get an EIN number. Usually this can take a couple of months, but I have a service that I can provide to you, again, just for members of the academy, where you can expedite that and get it back in a couple of days. The reason you need your EIN number is to be able to set up a US bank account. And then once you've set up your US business and bank account, we'll then set up a business phone number. You can get one for like $10 a year. And also we'll set up your store name and domain. So this is like www.matstore.com. The reason we need business phone number and a domain, and of course a business bank account, is just to operate the business. They're very minimal costs, really. Business bank account setup is free once you've done the US LLC. The expedited EIN service is just about $20, $30, which I'll sort for you. Store name costs about $10 a year to register www.matstore.com, and then $10 a year for a US phone number. These are all requirements of like a legitimate business, and like they're extremely low cost. Like it's just the cost of doing business. So there's no way around that really. But that shouldn't really take you too long. Honestly, like it will take you like 15 minutes to fill in the form on Doula, 15 minutes to think of a store name, 15 minutes to purchase a number, and to get your business bank account, that takes 15 minutes to set up. So all in all, you can do that within an hour, but it might take a couple of days just to get everything processed.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is basically that's not like major use of my time. It's going to go quite quick to just set up the business, and I can set it up in the US, for example, as an LLC from basically whichever country I want.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, where I'm staying at.
Yes.
Perfect.
Obviously, you'll need to make sure that you are doing your due diligence with the way in which your home country operates or where you live, just to make sure that you don't have any tax liability and stuff like that. So always make sure you get financial advice from someone who is certified. Obviously, I only know the laws of like the US and the UAE because that's where I reside. So obviously just do your due diligence, double check. I want to make sure I'm not giving you advice that is incorrect and then you're liable to pay any taxes and stuff like that. But that's what I recommend, and that's what I recommend all of the other students in the academy do. Like when it comes to people outside of other locations, you've got to remember we're blessed to be born like in the West or in Europe in some senses, right? Because, where you're born can actually dictate heavily how you can operate and do business. I mean, if you're in other countries, I mean, some that come to mind would be like Africa or India. It can be quite difficult to get onto the local payment processes that we use. So I've helped other students in those locations set up a US LLC and get access to US banking and also Shopify payments by simply going through this structure. So absolute game changer. You forget how blessed we are in some ways just to be born somewhere and do business in any way, but not everyone has that benefit. So for those that are watching and maybe are outside of the UK, USA or Europe, Doula is probably the best place to get started. Set up a US LLC, get an EIN, and then they can get a US bank account, and then they're good to go,
Clear. Sick.
One thing I will say is when it comes to the store name and domain, do not spend days trying to figure out what's the coolest, sexy name for your business. It does not matter. No one actually cares. No one even looks at the URL. Obviously, make sure it's somewhat relevant to the niche that you're in, but do not spend hours, especially not days, thinking of a name. Okay, it's the biggest waste of time. It's just an excuse to procrastinate. Forget all of that. Speed is important. We've gone through, you found your products, you've got the agent sourcing them. Forget about anything further than the business setup. Like just get set up on Doula, let it do its thing, pick a name, pick a phone number. Doesn't matter if the phone number don't look cool, just pick a number that's relevant to your business and you're all good.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Another question people ask normally is like, if I have a US LLC, do I need a US number? What if I'm doing business in the UK? Blah, blah. Doesn't matter. So many people think they need a local domain, local phone number. It doesn't matter. Just buy a phone number in the location that your business is set up. If you go with a US LLC, buy a US phone number so that you're perceived online as a US business, and just go with a .com domain. It's the most like universally recognized domain. Some people are like, oh, I'm selling in Australia, I should get .com.au. Doesn't matter. I'm selling in multiple markets and I have a .com domain. Just like, don't overthink it. Same as the product research. Just get it done. This isn't important,
Gotcha. Yeah, that's clear. So once we send our products to the agent and we get the message back, basically, when it comes to if they can source it, what's the cost of it, and we set up the business. Obviously, now we're going to go through building the Shopify store, right?
Yes.
But I'm guessing you mentioned that before, and I know that you have it. You already have a built website for me, in a sense, like there is a template that I can use.
Yes, 100%. So we'll take a look at that now. when it comes to building a Shopify store, this is where a lot of people face friction, right? I would say like second to like the product research and finding the product to launch, the next thing that people get confusion over or causes a bit of friction is the Shopify store build. Because you got to remember, a lot of beginners have never built a Shopify store before. I think it's scary and they don't know conversion rate optimization. They don't know where this button should go and what color they should use. Truth is, as long as your website looks somewhat in line with your competitors, it doesn't really matter. And the benefit that you guys get inside of the academy is you can just use my high converting product page template. So you can literally just plug in my product page that typically gets like a 2 to 3% conversion rate anyway, niche depending, obviously, and product price depending. But on average, that's what you could expect from it, because that's what I see and many of my other students see as well. To do that, you just need to purchase the theme that I use. It's not one I've created, but I have partnered with them. They're here. It's this one, Shrine Theme Pro. But with the discount code inside of the academy, I think it knocks off about 15%. So you actually pay considerably less than that. But if you use that theme, what you can do is then just plug in my product page template. Like literally it's a click of a couple of buttons and your template is built, right? All you need to do past that point is create the images and the copy. The images, I show you how to do that using AI and Canva. So again, if you've not used AI, like don't worry, it's not as scary as it sounds. Like it's actually quite straightforward the way that we've broken it down. And Canva is also a really useful tool. Costs like $10 a month for the Pro plan. Again, just the cost of doing business, but extremely worthwhile.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, I'm excited to actually do that as well.
Yeah, for sure. And again, the website is something that really shouldn't take too long. Okay. I know people either like underdo it or overdo it. It's not often that people get it right on time, People either spend like too long tweaking this, tweaking that, and I'm like, it doesn't matter, just launch, right? Because you're going to know if it's working when you start sending traffic there. But the longer you procrastinate, the longer you wait to send traffic there, the longer it's going to take you to get to your desired result. So don't spend too long on it. Even still, just spend a few days. Most important thing is that your product page is built in a way that's high converting. And to do that, I show you how to build what's called an ICP document, okay? Ideal customer profile. And that's essentially, you need to build this to understand who your customer is. You need to understand who they are to be able to sell to them, right? So inside of here, I've created a prompt that you can plug into ChatGPT and use deep research. It's going to scan reviews online of the product that you intend on bringing to market, and it's going to tell you everything you need to know about your customer. It's going to build you a 10-page document that you can then use to create the copy for your website and your product pages as well. So not only do you get the product page template, but you also get an ICP document that you can leverage, and it's going to create all of the copy for you for the product page as well.
Yeah, that, to be honest, just by looking of things and how we approach it, this is totally different level when it comes to comparing that and typical meta advertising, finding your winning product. You put way much more focus on the research, and also over here understanding who are you selling to.
Yep.
So that is that's next level for sure. So no wonder I've seen other students' results, and no wonder it is like that. The success rate is definitely higher than just randomly testing just a bunch of products.
For sure. Like I say, we do all of the research up front, so the success rate is extremely high. And like you say, that we can see that in the student results, and you will as well. I've built this in a way that doesn't make sense. We understand the business economics. We understand that the success rate is going to be high because the business economics makes sense. The data is there to tell us people are looking for this. It's a good price point. We know what the CPC is, which means we know how many clicks we should expect to get to generate a sale and what that would cost us. So how could it not work? Do you know what I mean? That's why I say it with such a big smile on my face. We have a very high success rate because all of these things. And the crazy thing is, right, how long did it take us to do research? 5 minutes? But so many people are skipping on this, But the way I built this course is, as you're starting to see, just a step-by-step program. It's made to eliminate all of the friction. Just follow each step as you get to it. Don't be thinking about building the website when you're doing the product research and vice versa. Just follow one step at a time. Don't overthink it, and speed is very important, We want to maintain momentum. We want to build it as quick as possible.
That looks so much better because it's I guess it gives you a blueprint from A to Z.
Yeah.
Because prior to, let's say, seeing this structure, my understanding of how to build a successful branding dropshipping store would be, a little bit vague. But over here, I really like that you have just couple sections, step by step, do this and that, and that's it.
Yeah.
Sick.
Absolutely. Now, there is one thing we do want to be a little bit careful of when building your website, and that is that we want to make sure it is Google compliant, okay? Now, what do I mean by that? Anyone that has tried Google dropshipping online will know that Google are quite notorious for suspending any advertising accounts and Google Merchant Center accounts that are in violation of their policies. So It's not really any different to a Meta ad account ban, but Google are much stricter. Now, there's a lot of noise out there where people will say, oh, Google targets dropshippers. They don't, okay? Google don't target dropshippers. They target people who are not Google policy compliant, right? So what we've done is we've built ChatGPT prompts. We have a Google Merchant Center checklist, which has like, I don't even know how many checks on it, 50 plus, I would say, to make sure that your website is compliant and also your Google Merchant Center account is compliant. Now, Google Merchant Center is just what you use to connect your Shopify store to your Google ad account, okay? It's where you input your product feed data so that you can then advertise on Google. Don't worry too much about the technical side of it all. What's most important is that we get your account up and running and approved, because that's going to allow you to then run Google shopping ads, okay? Or Performance Max campaigns. So to successfully connect the feed, we have to make sure that your store is Google compliant. And that also comes down to why we purchase a phone number. And a lot of the time, the reason that people get suspended is because that they're not compliant in some way. Normally down to like business transparency. Like Google really wants to know who you are. They want to make sure that you have a good user experience on your website. And that also comes down to things like your shipping time and your processing time, which is also why people think that Google target dropshippers. But a lot of the time it's because they've got a poorly designed site. They're not Google compliant. They probably don't have a phone number on there. They don't have the actual business address or business name in the footer. Maybe they've got a super long lead time. Maybe they're not keeping their customers engaged. Maybe there's issues at the checkout. Maybe the price point is different on one page to another. Just like there's always something, right? And Google will crawl your website, which is why it's much more advanced than Meta, and it will pick up on all these things. So by using our checklist and our ChatGPT prompts, and also following the instructional videos where I show you how to input all of your business information, what to put in your footer, in the community and in the academy, we have like what I would say, to the best of my knowledge, one of the highest success rates when it comes to Google Merchant Center approvals. Obviously, some people do face initial suspensions, but anytime we look at it together, it's always because they've missed something, and almost always something stupid, right? But once they address that and manage to get through to a representative at Google, more often than not, they're able to get it resolved within a couple of weeks. But there sometimes can be a little bit of friction, which is why it's really important to just follow everything step by step. You know, I do my best chance based on all my experience that I have, or give my best effort to like avoid you guys having any issues. But still, sometimes people go through a little bit too quick. Maybe they miss something. So this is something that I would like you to take your time on, because it will save you time later down the line, because you'll avoid any suspensions.
I see. But also I see that I'm guessing that there's way less people that's going to go through that issue, all that hassle to build out that store, if if Google is so much more restrictive. So would that mean that also there would be less competitors comparing to like Meta?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there are less competitors on Google, because most people, like, they don't know how to advertise on Google. I don't know why, because Google is literally where people go to when they want to buy something. But most people are still led down the path of advertising on Meta. Meta's easier to get set up. It's quicker because there's much less issues with regards to compliance. Google adds a little bit of friction because you need to really be transparent about your business. You have to go through all of your account approvals, account verification. But once you overcome that, you'll see how much of like an untapped blue ocean it is. Most people either just can't be bothered to go through all that, or they don't know how to do it, or they don't know how to do it successfully. Or even if they did, they get to the point where they're in their ad account, then they're like, now how do I launch the ads? You know, Google Ads can be a little bit overwhelming if you don't have someone guiding you, but we have an entire module dedicated to that as well, which I'll run you through in just a moment. But yeah, it baffles me how Google is still so untapped when literally it's been around longer than Meta, and Google Ads have been around a lot longer than Meta. So it doesn't make sense to me, but we're going to make the most of it, like while we still can. And yeah, looking forward to getting you set up on there, because you'll see once things start coming through.
Sounds good. Let's go.
Sure. So now, once you've gone through setting up all of your accounts, so your Google Ad account, Google Merchant Center account, there's also a video in there on how to set up your conversion tracking, just to make sure everything's working correctly. Then we get on to actually building the Google advertising campaigns. Now, things have changed a lot with Google over the years, okay? There's many different campaign types that you can run. Google has 5 different networks: display, demand gen, YouTube, Performance Max, and shopping and search. Performance Max is a combination of all of them, okay? Now, as to like where the best place is to start, typically you can just set up a campaign on Performance Max, but what we would do is run a feed-only campaign, which means it only shows on the Google Shopping and Google search results. Google Shopping are those sponsored listings I showed you earlier when we were looking at smart door locks. This is an example of a Google Shopping ad, okay? It's one that's here and sponsored. So when I'm searching for smart door locks as an advertiser, we'd place your ad right here, and people would be able to see your image, your title, and your price point. That's why it's really important in the Shopify module. We have the AI image generator to make super clean imagery. And we also want to make sure your price point is in alignment, which is why we get the average at the start when we're going through. So that's a Google shopping ad. And then a search ad is one here. See, it says sponsored here. That's an example of a Google search ad. So on the search network, in the Google search results, and when we have Google shopping. So when we set up a feed only campaign, it will show here in the shopping tab, and then also it will show on the display network. Now, have you ever been on a website and maybe looked at a product, and then later on you've been on a completely different website and you see like an ad in a banner form around the side or the bottom?
Yeah, it goes behind you on every website.
Yeah, exactly. So that is an example of Google Display or the Google Display Network. Now, really, really powerful. If you set up a feed only PMAX campaign, it will show on the shopping network, and also you'll be remarketed to on the display network. So it also integrates remarketing with it as well. Remarketing is important because not everyone's going to purchase the first time they land on the site. Some people need to see the product multiple times. You know, I'm sure you've had it where maybe you're in the middle of something, someone calls you, or you're called to an appointment or whatever, you stand up, you put your phone in your pocket, and maybe you were halfway through checkout or looking at product. You're like, oh, I'll get it later. But you get home, you're busy, you know, you've got stuff to do, you forget. That's the power of remarketing. So we'll then make sure that we're following them around on the internet and trying to get them back to that product to buy it.
So it's way different than just trying to find somebody who will buy on the spot for like $30 while they're scrolling through social media. Over here, it's, I guess a bit more longer path for them to buy. But in the end, since we're going to be selling more expensive products and we only pay for those clicks, then I can see that it's going to be much more consistent and profitable.
Yes, but not always a longer sales cycle either, because remember, the audience is higher intent. They're looking for a smart door lock. So that doesn't always mean that they're going to need multiple touch points, because the same way Meta would naturally remarket to people as well that have been on the website, but only on the Meta platform, we're going to do it on Google. But that's not to say that people won't just see an ad, click on the site and buy. You will still get that, and you can review your conversion path inside of Google Analytics. So it will show you how many people purchased on their first click, how many people came back 2 times, 3 times, and you'll notice on average, well, it will vary depending on the niche, but there will still be a lot of people that purchase based on the first click, and then some people that purchase on the second or maybe even the third. We'll talk more about remarketing in a moment when we get onto the email marketing module, but I know I've kind of breezed over Google and how it works, but in the academy, if we go back here, I have step-by-step videos on how to set up your Performance Max campaign, how to understand different bidding strategies, advanced bidding strategies, leading metrics, column setups, audiences and audience targeting, keyword match types, asset groups, audience signals. So like everything's covered in detail. And I know this may sound like another language at the moment where you've not done Google Ads before, but if you just follow each video step by step, it's going to all become very clear as you're going through it, and you're going to learn as you go. Now, I'm not expecting you to just suddenly be like a Google Ads wizard after you watch these videos, but that's why you've got the one-to-one mentorship and the guidance, and we do the group calls and everything, because you know you're going to have questions, you're going to need answers, and I'll take you through everything step by step. So don't worry if this sounds like another language at the moment, but you will get it.
Sick.
Cool. So once you've got your Google Ads campaigns live, which is what's going to be like our primary source of traffic, we then want to make sure we build out our email marketing flows. Now, this, similarly to the Google Ads remarketing, is just there to remarket to people, okay? So how are we first going to capture their information? You'll notice it's quite common in e-commerce. When you land on a website, do you see those pop-ups where it's like, hey, do you want 5% off, 10% off, or something like that? Mm-hmm. The reason they do that is just to get your email. Why? Because then they can email you all the time. They've got a direct way of getting in your inbox, right? That's free as well. Like every time you send an email, it's free. You have to pay a subscription. We use a tool called Klaviyo, which is free for the first like 1,000 emails a month, I think. And then after that, it's like a low cost subscription. But the reason people want your email is, again, remarketing to keep getting back to you. So when someone lands on your site, you will have a percentage of them that will opt into your form for a slight discount or some sort of benefit. We then have their email. So not only are we then emailing them with help from the plug and play email flows, which I'll walk you through in a moment, but we're also remarketing to them on the display network. So we now have 2 different channels to get them back to your site, Google and also email marketing. Right, so really, really powerful, really important. And people might be like, oh, I don't want to give away, $10 off or 5% or 10% discount. But that's why we source products that have high profit potential, right? You don't always have to give a percentage. If 10% ends up being quite a lot because you're selling a product that's, say, $400, just give away a fixed $20 discount.
Right.
Hey, opt in here for $20 off. And who's not going to want $20 off? Like, it's easy. They only need to type in their email, right?
Yeah, but that would also mean probably that since we're going to be selling high ticket products, I will need far less sales than otherwise if I would try to sell with something that is cheaper.
Yes, exactly. Less sales. I mean, you only need 3 sales a day at $400 each to be doing 1.2K per day. That's over 30K per month. And because we're selling high ticket products using high intent or targeting a high intent audience with Google ads, it's much more likely that your net profit margin is going to be way higher than what you'd otherwise see on Meta. Like, it's not uncommon for students to have a 30, 40, or even 50% net profit margin. Like on my store, on average, since launch back in May, it's now in October, I've averaged between a 40 to 50% net profit margin from Google ads and high ticket dropshipping.
That's the thing I love about you, that you're also doing the thing. Like, there's a lot of coaches out there that kind of like, not really do the thing that they are teaching about necessarily, or maybe at least that's my impression after some time like researching that, searching for somebody who's legit and who wants to actually help you build a business online that is like real business, not some fake, quick drop shipping store.
Yeah.
And the thing that really comes to my mind is that you are actually successful and like your results are sick.
Yeah.
Like, I know that last month you really took it to the next level with your store, and you're using exactly the same method as over here. It's nothing, like, it's not different. It's literally it.
No.
So that's pretty sick, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can look at some wins inside of the community, which I'll show you in a moment. Just from people in the past week, we've had like 3 or 4 people get their first high ticket sale, and I'll show you that because that's obviously cool to see as well. Like, that's what I often say to people, just follow the blueprint. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've refined it. It works. Like, I can't guarantee you anything, but I'm going to tell you this. If you just follow this, your chance of success is going to be very, very high. But I cannot control you and what you're doing. But what I can control is the information. So just follow it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still up to me, I guess, to build the business, right? It's I have to do the doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. But once you've got your exit intent pop up on the screen, which I'll show you how to build, we have an entire module here dedicated to Klaviyo and how to set everything up. Not only that, but also making sure that your emails are actually being delivered. We focus on deliverability as well, because it's no good sending emails if you're ending in spam all the time, which is another thing that most dropshippers do. They don't even optimize their emails. So they send emails and they're just in the spam all the time, So we're going to focus on that. And then in here, you actually have 14 plug and play email templates, 7 for a welcome flow and 7 for an abandoned cart. And we're going to use this as an opportunity to nurture people, to position ourselves as an actual brand. Again, really important, right? Because someone that lands on your website, we're building branded, niche specific high ticket dropshipping stores. And we want to portray that in the emails as well, because perception is everything. If we keep telling people and showing people that we're a premium brand, they're going to believe it, right? But sometimes it takes more than one touch point, and that's the importance of email marketing, because that's, if done correctly, this will add on maybe 20 to 30% more revenue per month just with these 2 flows.
And those are basically the flows. It means that the emails are sent automatic.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're automated. All someone would need to do is either opt into your welcome form, which is the pop-up discount I mentioned, or they abandon their checkout. So they add a cart, put their email in. Maybe you've had them before, like when you buy something or go to buy and they're like, hey, you forgot to check out. It's going to be doing that essentially. And that's also really important. So now we've done product and market research, product sourcing and fulfillment, business setup, building your Shopify store, making sure you're GMC compliant, setting up your Google Ads, your PMAX campaign, and plugging in our plug and play email templates. There's not really too much more left. Like, what we're getting onto now is now really what will kind of take your business to the next level when you get there. So there's 3 things that come after email marketing: handling returns, branding, and then international tax advice. Handling returns is something that I want to touch on, because this is another thing that I see in the dropshipping space and why it's considered scammy, and probably why Google is so intent on making sure that people have business and transparency, is because most dropshippers do not offer returns. I speak to other people in the industry. If a customer emails and says, hey, I'm not happy with my order, I want to return it, they'll offer like a 10% discount. And then when someone emails back and says, no, I'm not happy with that, I want to return it, they'll have, okay, what about a 20% discount? No, I want to return. What about 30? What about 50? At the end of the day, that doesn't make sense, because one, you have unsatisfied customers who cannot return a product that they do not want, which means you're going to have more negative reviews, more Trustpilot reviews. Like, if I look at my competitors who are also dropshipping, they have like a 1-star Trustpilot page. My Trustpilot page for my ecom brand is 5 stars. I launched it in May. I've had about 15 5-star reviews. Like, this is something that I'm actively working on, and my virtual assistant who handles all my emails is very aware that this is what we're working towards. The amount of people that are like exceptional service, it's amazing how happy people are if you simply just reply to their emails and accept returns. Like, if you're not going to accept returns, how is that a long-term business or something that's viable? You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And have you heard about this in the e-com space?
Yeah, so basically, like, I was always worried while, like, when thinking about e-commerce and starting, is that I don't want to run like a scammy store, which basically, scams people when they think that they're gonna get some kind of good product and they're getting some kind of cheap version of it and then complain. And you see those some of those like websites can have like 1 star, 1.4 reviews. So when I saw your store having your stars, it looks like just like a legit brand. And that, for me at least, is very important, that I'm actually running a real operation, a real business.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in scamming people or doing something just for a little bit. For a couple of months and then opening a new store. I want to build a long-term asset.
Yeah.
So that's way better.
For that, we definitely want returns in place. And then we're also going to focus on branding. The returns is very straightforward. I'll recommend a few return centers that you can use globally. So even if you're dropshipping from China, which we will be, you can allow customers to return to local warehouses in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, Europe, wherever you're selling. And it's extremely cost efficient as well. So that means you're going to obviously have satisfied customers and really be able to build something that's a long-term brand. Because you'll find that even if customers place an order and they decide to return it, even allowing them to return it and making it accessible for them and simply asking for a review, even if they return the product, they're actually quite likely to leave one, So it's just all about making it feel like an experience. Like, I bought this MacBook today in Apple, and all I thought was one experience. Like, you walk in there, they don't even have like a counter as such. Like, it's kind of a weird layout and there's no other store like it. And obviously, before this, I didn't have an Apple, and I'm a bit removed because my phone is an Android as well. So to walk in there and just have this experience, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. They ask what your name is. They ask you to sit down. They keep you there and talk to you while you're waiting for your order. So I was like, wow, they've really built something that I feel like I'm getting a premium experience. That is very important, and that is what we want to touch on when it comes to returns and branding, which is what I'm going to talk on now. All right? Again, when I said earlier, Dyson, Louis Vuitton, Apple, perfect examples of building a brand. Like, this laptop, this isn't worth $2,500. The core components of it, right? Or it maybe even costs more than that with the mouse and stuff. I don't even know. But what we're paying for is that Apple badge on the back of it and the experience that you gain with it. And that's what we're going to do with our store and our branding. So in here, we have a whole module dedicated to branding, teaches you how to brand your packaging, all right, which is extremely important as part of the experience, because most people that dropship low ticket products, they dropship from AliExpress, CJ Dropshipping, whatever. Most of the time, if you've seen it, it turns up in like a black bin bag, like bag wrapped, tight wrapped. You open it and it's just like, what is this? Like, okay, I know I paid $30 for this, but this is awful. Like, I want to return it, which then leads to chargebacks because people don't have return centers. What we're doing is we're getting fully customized packaging, right? So cardboard boxes that are thick, that don't dent, that look nice, that people can open and to feel like they're having an all-round positive experience. And then it doesn't really cost much to do that, right? I wouldn't go and do it straight away. Like, wait until you've got some orders in, 5 orders, 6 orders, and you can see, okay, this product's working well. Then you'll go to your private agent, which is another benefit of having an agent. Tell them you want to get some packaging made with your logo on it, with anything else that you want on there. Maybe you want a little card in there. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure you leave a review on Trustpilot, whatever you want, like how you want your brand to be perceived. And that costs barely anything. Like, if you want 100, 200, 500 cardboard boxes made, depending on the size and weight of your product, obviously, maybe a few $100s. It's not a lot to spend to completely transform someone's experience, and I'll show you guys how to do all of that as well. So when you're talking about wanting to build something that has longevity, that, has actual IP, and also that's something that someone else just can't rip. Because this is the other thing. Most dropshippers or other people, they're lazy. Like, they don't do the research properly. They don't even look at their ideal customer profile. They steal someone else's ad. They steal someone else's product. They don't accept returns. They don't brand their products. Like, of course we're going to be doing better than them. That's why all of our students are like crushing it.
Yeah. I think like people almost have like a wrong impression of dropshipping, because I guess you can do the dropshipping like you just mentioned, most do, which is, selling those kind of like cheap, flimsy, fake items and a little bit scamming people, to be honest. while you're actually building real business and you just use dropshipping as, I guess, method just to fulfill the order, which is very different, those two. And I think, you just presented like this is way much more in depth. So
For sure. Well, I'm pleased that you found this helpful. Now, with regards to the branding, that's something that will start once you've started generating some sales, right? There's no need to start thinking about it now, any more upfront costs. We want this to be extremely lean, extremely efficient. And when the time is right, then we get the packaging, and then you can start branding the actual products yourself, making slight customizations, adding a logo. Usually this requires minimum order quantity though, right? So depending on, again, the size and the weight and the cost of the product, you may have a minimum order quantity. So maybe you need to order 50 pieces, 100, 200, 500, whatever, depending on what the supplier says. But this is why an agent is also important, because they will negotiate for you, and they want you to win. They want you to help. So they're always going to be looking for solutions for you as well. The supplier that I'm working with, you had to order at least 500 customized packages for them to do it. But then my agent, he was like, hey, I found someone external to them that allows to order 200. So I'm like, okay, well, that's good, because I don't need 500 right now. I don't want to spend, $1,000 on just packaging. Let me allow like 300 and I'll spend whatever, 300, but I don't know. I can't remember the pricing, but you get the idea. They're an extension of your business and they're there to help and guide and support you,
Yeah. But you also probably just want to make some initial capital, right? You want to start having some cash flow and then you just reinvest that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this is the thing. The profits from the ad spend on Google should be self-fulfilling, right? I always recommend that people start with at least $1,000 in ad spend. Allow that to start testing some markets, testing your products. Allow the 80-20 rule to set in, where you find your product that performs well of the 5 that you launch within your niche, and then you can reinvest the profits. Like the store I launched in May, I launched it with $1,000 in the business bank account, and I was profitable after like $200, $300 ad spend. And since then, it's just been self-fulfilling.
Like knowing numbers behind your store, it's crazy that from just like not even $1,000 you can go to that level. And also in what time? Like fairly short time.
Yeah.
It's a couple months.
For sure. 5 months now. 5 months. But yeah, dropshipping is like an amazing fulfillment method, and it is just that, but it has a bad name because a lot of people enter dropshipping and they have poor business etiquette. And the thing is, the way they treat their customers is probably how they treat everyone, which is what I say to people who are looking to work with people, looking for a mentor, looking for a guide. If their whole course or their whole methodology is designed around, not accepting returns, how to limit chargebacks, how to keep your payment processes open, how to steal your competitors' ads, if that is their methodology, that's how they treat their customers, and that's probably how they're going to treat you as well as their customer, right? So I always think, or that's what I always say to people, like, just understand a bit more about the people that you're working with and how they do business, because how they do business is probably how they do everything, But we obviously have that module on branding, and then we get on to international tax advice. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not an international tax consultant. I can't help you, but I'll put you in touch with someone who is. He's helped me with my store setup to make sure everything is legally compliant and that kind of stuff. Again, I don't like to put this too early on, because this isn't the sort of thing you should be thinking about at the start. Generate some sales, generate some cash flow, then of course make sure you're compliant everywhere. But there shouldn't be a sticking point. It shouldn't be like, oh, I'm not going to launch it because I don't know if I can sell in this location and what my tax liability will be. Of course, pay all of your taxes, be compliant, but don't let that stop you setting your ads live and getting a first sale. Like, that's exactly what a consultant will say to you anyway. Like, hey, you're way below the threshold, or you don't need to do your accounts for another year yet. You have time for this kind of stuff. So join the academy, which you have done. Work towards generating your first 10K in revenue per month. And then you can start considering things like international tax advice, So how do you feel having gone through it? Has that kind of cleared up everything, how it all works? And are you excited to get going?
Yeah, I mean, it's a blueprint, like exactly like the way you describe it, in your posts, for example, where I found you. And it's like, it's from A to Z, basically, the whole structure, which I love. So I'm super excited to just get it on and just generate some sales. And I'm pretty sure that it's going to happen, fairly soon, actually, with that kind of like preparation.
Yeah. 100%. Well, what I'll do is, for those that are watching, I'll just show some recent wins inside of the community, of which we've had quite a few this week. I'll explain a little bit more about the program, just for those that are watching, if anyone else wants to join, and then we can go from there. So we had Patrick, who just a few days ago got his first sale, not only one, but he actually got 2 within the space of about 30 minutes. You can see here 2 orders within 30 minutes at £147 each, and this is with a branded niche specific high ticket dropshipping store. So now I've said to him the next step is to really scale into more markets with more products and start working towards generating his first $10,000 in sales. We then had Dan as well, who he's been in the program for a couple of months, had some issues launching his ads, but got it done. And then he also got his first high ticket sale, $350. Keep in mind, these are both beginners, right? Going from zero to their first sale within like 6 to 8 weeks, which is amazing. And now obviously really doubling down as we're entering Q4 as well. And we have more and more in here, guys. For those of you that are watching who have enjoyed this video, who have seen the way in which the academy is broken down and want to take action exactly like Matt here and get involved inside of the academy, then this is for you. This is your opportunity to follow a step-by-step blueprint from someone who has not only been there and done it, but from someone who is actually still there and still doing it. So if you are interested, if you want to learn more about the academy, see the link in the video description for more information.